Welcome back to Mental Health with Mel. So last week I talked to you guys about dating with a mental health disorder and how my medication has affected me. It's only been about 3 weeks, almost a month, so there's still lots of changes to come, and we'll see those throughout my videos. I wanted to do by itself a video on relationships with mental health disorders. I wanted to start with being in a relationship, finding your person. When I go to therapy, I make a lot of bad decisions, making friends or finding a spouse. So I talk to the therapist to see why I make those decisions. And I guess I ignore red flags. Anyways, I ignore them or I don't really register them, which is an issue. And I think that is from the part of I want to be with someone, so I will just ignore little flaws that actually are kind of a big deal. That was where I was at before my medication, so that was one of the things that I've been working on. Little red flags. Watch out for those in your relationship or in your dating period. As someone with a mental health disorder, we tend to find other people that have their own mental health disorders or anger issues or things like that. So it's important for us to see these are people that are trying to work on themselves and grow and be the best person they can be. And these are people that are toxic regardless if they have a mental health disorder or not. First step in getting into a relationship is just making sure that this person is a good match for you. And like I had discussed in my previous video, making sure they know of your mental health disorder and are okay with it and aren't just putting up with your craziness. So that's all going to be really important. And then another thing onto that, because we attract people that are like ourselves or people that we want to fix because maybe we don't want to work on ourselves, you might get into a relationship with another person with a mental health disorder. And that's something we need to dive into as well, because that's going to be a whole different relationship. I think the first one that I want to talk about is more how someone else can use our mental health disorders against us, and without us even realizing that's what's going on. So we might attract manipulative people who will gaslight us. So basically, gaslighting is making someone feel like they're crazy by psychologically changing events or changing situations. Just someone that's going to make you question yourself and your sanity. And as someone with bipolar, I know that is a big thing. Just questioning if I know myself or not, if I understand myself completely, if the situation that I was in was my fault or not. Just a lot of questioning comes with you, first growing, but secondly, just having a mental health disorder. And mostly in the beginning stages, it's very easy to get confused with who you are and what you've done, what you want to do. So someone can easily see that as you being like Bambi or like a little bunny rabbit that they can just manipulate. Please watch out for the red flags and the gaslighting. I would say a good way is to always tell an outside person, this is a situation that's happened, this is what I've done, this is what this person is saying I've done, what do you see? Because someone else with more clarity might be able to point out the fact that they are gaslighting you. Then in your actual relationship, let's say that you have a pretty healthy relationship, how your mental health disorder might affect your partner. For example, if you're bipolar or if you have depression, you're going through your depressed period of time, that is going to affect your partner, their mood. Maybe they're going to be a little bit more down or a little sadder, lower energy. They might be upset too because you're upset and they can't help you, and they have to see that over time. They could develop depression or like little almost there but not really depression, just like on the borderline of it. Them developing depression is very, very unlikely, but it does happen. They might have the gene for mental health disorder already, and the situation has now pushed them into actually having a diagnosis and that coming up to light. That could be a factor in your relationship. Your mood might affect another person's mood and how they function. Maybe going to therapy before this situation happens, like maybe before you move in together or before you start spending a lot of time together, that might help you and your partner know what to do in those situations and beat the punchline of them feeling this way, and them having some coping skills for themselves and some tools to help you out of your situation. For bipolar or borderline personality, you will act on impulses. That can negatively affect your partner as well as positively affect your partner. You might want to book a last minute trip and go somewhere else and have a nice little vacation, and that might be a wonderful surprise to your partner, and that might be great. That's wonderful. So you've brought this new little spice to your relationship just based off of your impulses of your mental health disorder. That's a pro. Now a con, depending on how severe your mental health disorder is, you might spend all of your money and not even realize it. That is an impulse that, at least for bipolar and more serious cases of bipolar, you are going to see a lot of impulses, and some people do tend to have a connection with money and food with their impulses. So you could be impulsively buying things that you don't need, and that could be negatively affecting your income, mostly because you're not registering any of that. It's not like with logic that you're saying, oh, I have money for this, I'm gonna buy it. So that could definitely be a negative towards yourself and your partner. But if you know that this is something that does happen in your manic episodes, you can always talk to your partner about finances and see what's the best way to make sure that you have money, but you're not spending it on your impulses when you're going through your manic episodes. I am not saying that your partner has the right to take away funding from you, that has the right to control all of the decision making with your money and finances. I'm not saying that at all. But if you do know that you struggle with this, it is helpful to have another person that you can lean on, like a little crutch, to help you, support you, and guide you with your manic episodes. So at that point, maybe it's smart for you, when you start feeling impulsive, to transfer your funds somewhere else. Maybe it's smart for you to have an allowance in your account. Whatever the case may be, everyone is going to be base by base, but the point is to know that this is an issue and this is how it needs to be addressed before it negatively impacts your relationship. Because unfortunately, money is a huge factor in divorce. Now for anxiety. Being in a relationship with anxiety is going to maybe impact it in different ways. So first you have your flight or fight mentality. So you might get into more arguments with your significant other if you are going through a very anxious time period. This is going to negatively affect your relationship too, because you are upset and you're taking it out on the other person. So it's important to note when you're doing it and try to find like a way to ground yourself, a way to center yourself. So I know for me, when I'm feeling really anxious and people around me are making me feel like I don't know how to respond or I don't know how to act, and they're overwhelming me, I will tell them, right now I feel really anxious. I need you to hold on a second, and I will catch my breath, or I will leave and go take a walk. But I'm not running from my problems because I've addressed it. This is what's going on right now. I, for myself, need to take a step back so I don't react negatively or poorly. That's going to be important too. Just knowing when you're having an anxiety attack, knowing when you have anxiety, and addressing it with your partner so you're not taking it out on them, as well as having a partner that's going to understand this is what's going on. It's not personal. Obviously, it's to them, so it might hurt, but it's not personal. They need to just give you a moment. And it's also just very important that we keep in mind our partners are not supposed to be our whole support system. We're not supposed to lean on them for everything, because that also is emotionally draining to them. It's going to be really important for you to find a balance. Yes, that person married you for better or for worse, or got in a relationship with you knowing that these are things you're dealing with, but you don't want it to be something negative that's going to affect them forever. I went to therapy and I got help because it was too much for me to handle all by myself. So if you go and put all of what you are trying to handle on your spouse, they're gonna feel that same pressure. So you need to make sure to balance that out. And I want to end this on a more positive note. Because you have a mental health disorder, first off, does not make you any less of a partner or a contributor in your relationship or household. And also, because we go through all of this, we're more compassionate and understanding when someone else is going through their own issue. You can provide tools. You can teach them all the things that you learned. So yes, we have our own downfalls, but we have things that we can make up for it. You're always going to be more appreciative of how happy things make you because you understand how anxious or how sad you could be. Like always, please guys, remember to like and subscribe. I make this content for you guys. Please interact with me on Instagram or Facebook. I put polls up sometimes. I'll ask you questions, have you ask me questions, so please interact so I know what kind of content you guys want to see.